Hello, and welcome to the very first lesson of the six-part series of Learning to Play Ukulele with Mr. Dave. I'm here at the Buckland Public Library in the community room, and I'm here to start you playing one of these guys. Now this is a Kala Exotic Mahogany concert-size ukulele with a low G. Now, I'm telling you this because there's a little difference between different types of ukuleles. What you probably have at home, if you're just starting, is a soprano size. They're a little bit smaller, and they often have a high G here. It'll sound like this. I have a low G. It changes the tonality, it makes it sound deeper and fuller, but it doesn't change the way you play it, at least not with chords. So, mine's going to sound a little bit richer, a little bit deeper than what yours will if you have a high G on your ukulele. However, it doesn't change what you need to do and how I'm going to teach it to you. So the very first thing I'm going to talk to you about is tuning. It doesn't matter how good you get at playing the ukulele. If it's not in tune, it's going to sound horrible. That brings me to this little guy. This is a tuner. This specifically is a clip-on tuner. The way this tuner works is you clip it onto your ukulele. I like to put it up on the headstock. That's this part up at the top. And it picks up the vibrations of the strings. It doesn't have to hear the ukulele out loud. In fact, it won't work at all unless it's clipped. You turn it on, and you can see that tells you the name of the string that it's hearing, and it's telling you if it's in tune. Right now, that string is in tune, and we'll go over tuning in a little bit more. However, I want to go over this first part. Whatever you do to get a tuner, get one. Get it on your phone if you don't have access to a store that sells tuners. Go to a music shop and buy a tuner, or purchase them online. I recommend the Snark brand of tuners. That's S-N-A-R-K. Across the board, all of them are good quality, and they're fairly inexpensive compared to some others. If you have a tuner from yesteryear that uses audio input instead of picking up vibrations, you'll have to make sure you're in a quiet room. However, any tuner is good. Make sure you have one. Also, if you're planning on getting a tuner for your phone, I recommend the Kala app, K-A-L-A. It's a free app. It's available on the iPhone Apple Store, and it's available on the Google Play Store. It's free, and it's a useful little app. It shows you how to, it tells you the notes that you need to tune to, which is very convenient, and we'll go over that in a minute. And it also shows you if they're in tune, and you can even have it sound the note so you can hear what it's supposed to sound like to make it easier to get started. Because that's the difficult part of tuning, is getting started. If you've got a brand new ukulele and it's what we call factory tuned, there's no such thing. That's just a fun expression that string players use for when they get a new instrument and their strings are horribly out of tune. They're nowhere near where they need to be. The string notes are A, for the highest string that's the furthest away from your face, E, for the next one down, C, for the second closest to your face, and then G, for the string closest to your face. It's also the skinniest string, unless you have a low G on your ukulele, and it sounds like this, and it's down lower. So again, A, E, C, G. If your tuner has a chromatic setting, use that. A lot of tuners that you can buy have settings for guitar and mandolin and violin and even ukulele. The problem with those is if your string isn't anywhere near the note that it needs to be tuned to, it just doesn't say anything. It doesn't tell you if you need to go higher or lower. Either that or it goes crazy and tells you it's the wrong note and you end up tuning way out like crazy. So make sure it's set to chromatic, usually marked as a letter C. And sometimes it'll say C-H-R-O-M, or even say the whole word out, chromatic. If you have access to a piano or a keyboard or another instrumentalist who can help you find these notes for the initial notes, that's good too. However, like I said, the Kala app is really good, and I will be playing them here so you can hear them on the video and tune to that. My ukulele is in tune. A, E, C, G, or low G. Great. So take your tuner or your app, get all tuned up, and let's get ready to start. The next part that we're going to go over is the physical ukulele itself. We're going to talk about the parts that make up the ukulele. So when I mention talking about the tuners or the headstock or the neck or the body, you know what I'm talking about. Like I mentioned before, let me get this out of the way. This is the headstock, or just the head. It's named the head, I think, because it's on top of the neck. And this is what's traditionally called the neck of the instrument. It's pretty easy to remember because it's below the head. What's below your head? Your neck. Below the neck, just like on you and me, is the body. This is the body of the ukulele. Head, neck, body. Now up on the head, those are the tuners. These are what you turn to change the pitch of the strings. When we were talking about tuning earlier, you twist these and it changes the pitch either higher or lower on the strings. What's pitch? Pitch is the sound that you're hearing at a specific frequency to make a note. Now down here on the neck, this guy right here, it's white on mine. Sometimes they're black. Occasionally they can be other colors, but usually they're white or black. These are called nuts. They're the nut. And what this does is, if you look really carefully, it's what holds the strings up off of the fretboard. That's this piece here on top of the neck. And allows the vibrations to stop at a very specific point. See how the string bends? It goes up and then flat. That is creating a vibration point, allowing a very specific vibration. Now, if you look on the fretboard, you'll see these metal pieces here. Those are called frets. These frets are what cuts the vibration higher up, making it go faster, making the pitch sound higher. So, going back to that middle C, that's what's called open, just letting it play, no pressing down on the frets. If I press down on the first fret, do you hear the pitch went up? Nothing pressed. The pitch went up. And that's true every time you go further up the neck. Now I know it looks like I'm going down, but when we're talking about up and down on a stringed instrument like the ukulele, up and down are referring to pitch. The notes are going higher in pitch, or up, when I go up the neck. So up is down. Sorry. So back to the neck, the nut, the frets on the fretboard. Now here's where it gets confusing. These spaces in between the frets are also referred as frets. If I say, put your finger on the first fret, I don't mean place it on the metal piece. I mean place it in the space just before the metal piece. Because if you put it over the metal piece, it won't make a clean point for vibration, and it makes it sound thumpy. Like this. This is first fret done correctly. Rings true. This is first fret done wrong. putting my finger on the actual fret, not in the space before it. See how it sounds thumpy and gross? That's because the pad of my finger is preventing the string from vibrating, making it go thump instead of ringing true. So when I say put your finger on the first fret, I really mean put it on the space that's just before the first fret. Now, if you look, mine has dots. Sometimes you have other shapes. Sometimes there isn't anything. However, often there are fret markers. On a ukulele, the first fret marker is usually on the 5th fret. Sometimes they're on the 3rd fret, but usually I find they're on the 5th fret. So if you look down at the front of your fretboard or up here on the top, you'll see there's a little marker of some sort, often a spot, and that tells you that this is the 5th fret. Again, sometimes you might have it on the 3rd fret. This is just making it easier for you to know where your hands are, so you don't have to do this every time you want to change something. Back to the body. This is the body of the ukulele. If you have an acoustic ukulele, like this one, you'll notice that it's essentially a box. You have what's called a reverberation chamber. This box is what amplifies the vibration of the strings. If the reverberation chamber here, this box of the body, wasn't there, if it was just a solid slab of wood, like on an electric ukulele or an electric guitar, it would be very, very quiet. What this does is it picks up the vibrations of the string here in the bridge piece and puts them into the top part of the ukulele, also called the soundboard. This vibrates, and then all the sound bounces around in there and naturally gets louder inside there and then comes out the sound hole. So the string vibrates, the vibrations go into here, onto the bridge, into the soundboard, bounce around inside the reverberation chamber, and out the sound hole, even louder than they would be without that. So, body, soundboard, sound hole, reverberation chamber. You don't need to know that, just a fun little factoid. This is the bridge that holds the bottom of the strings and lets the vibrations go in. Here's your neck, your fretboard with your frets and fret spaces, also called frets, and your nut, headstock, tuners. That's pretty much all we need to go over right now for the physical being of the ukulele. My ukulele should be the same as your ukulele, should be the same as somebody else's ukulele. There are different shapes and sizes, like I'd mentioned before. Soprano is the one you probably have. That's usually what people start off with. This one's concert. It's the next size up. There's another one that's called the tenor size, and it's about that much bigger with a larger reverberation chamber and a deeper sound. The type of ukulele that you want really depends on the type of player that you want to be. And that's something that you will discover with time and practice. Now to finish up, I want to get some actual playing in. So I'm going to assume that your ukulele is now in tune. So when you play each individual string, they are playing the right note, A, E, C, and G. Now we're going to go over how to actually play something. We're going to start with the most common chord on the ukulele, the C chord. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you over here on my lovely whiteboard what a C chord looks like. Now you'll see this box here, this is called a tab box or tablature box or a chord box. When you're looking these things up or you're going to a music store and you're asking about them, all three of those names apply to one of these. This is just a graph that tells you where to put your finger to make this sound right. So like I said, we're going to start with the chord C, the C chord. Now you'll see, here's the box. This black bar up at the top, which is on most of the boxes, but not all of them, most of them, this is a representation of the nut. This right here is this on your ukulele. Ipso facto. This here is the first fret space of your ukulele. Second fret, third fret, fourth fret. Now, being the clever kittens I know you all are, these lines up and down, you've probably surmised that these are representations of your 4 strings. This here is your A string. This here is your E string. This one here is your C string. This one here is your G string. The spots tell you where to put your finger for the chord, and the name of the chord is written above the box. So we know that we want to play a C chord. We look up here. This is a C chord. It says C. Where do we put our finger? On the 1, 2, 3, the 3rd fret of your A string. So you take your finger, right now, any finger you like, and you place it on the 3rd fret of your A string. Get a little closer so you can see this. 1, 2, 3. 3rd fret. Now, you can start by putting your thumb back here, pressing it on the back of the neck like this, or you can start by wrapping your hand around, whichever you're more comfortable. I recommend starting right away like this. You notice my hand is not holding the neck. It's out away from it, and only my thumb and the part between my thumb and my index finger are touching the back of the neck. So there's space. And then I just take whichever finger I prefer, index finger, middle finger, ring, pinky, any one of them, and place it down, pressing on the 3rd fret of your A string. Once you've got that down, and it's a good clean press, strum all 4 strings gently. Yours should sound approximately like that. If your uke's in tune, if you're pressing down hard enough here, and you strum cleanly, it should sound really nice. And that is your C chord. Practice your C chord by doing down strums. You can use your thumb like this. You can use your index finger. You can use all your fingers. And if you have a pick, either plastic or felt, you can use that as well. Whatever you're comfortable with. Good job. Well, thank you very much for joining me here at the Buckland Public Library at our very first ukulele lessons. And I want to thank the Buckland Public Library for bringing us here. And I want to thank the Massachusetts Cultural Council for sponsoring the show. Remember, this is a 6-part series, and by the time we get to the end of it, you should be able to play 1 or 2 songs fairly comfortably. Thank you again very much. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you at the next lesson where we're going to start our first song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. See you next time.